Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be breaking down a couple things. First one being, how do you really get an effortless looking forehand? We're going to look at some pros that are very good at making the forehand look effortless. We're going to look at my form. I have a lot of people compliment me on my forehand, and we'll just kind of see some of the similarities in our forms. We're going to break down really where I feel like all the magic happens in the forehand. I've never heard anyone call it this, but in my eyes, it's kind of the power pocket of the forehand. It's a position that you're gonna get power, velocity, spin. You're gonna get a lot of all the goodies that make a forehand look so effortless. So if you're out there and you're wanting to know how to throw an effortless forehand, well, we're gonna have to break it down a little bit later in the video. Second thing that I'm gonna talk about, since we're on the topic of a forehand, I asked my viewers what they wanted in a forehand video. I've wanted to come out with a really in-depth how to throw a forehand video that really nails every part of the forehand that I could possibly think of, and really help people the best way I know how to achieve an effortless looking forehand. And I was gonna come out with like a 30-minute video. And I asked my viewers, hey, what do you guys want? Do y'all want a long video, or do y'all want short videos broken up every step of the way? And the vast majority of people said they wanted short videos. So we're gonna be having how to throw an effortless forehand series. This is episode 1, and this is kind of our end result of kind of where we want to be by the end of the series. I will throw a forehand real quick and kind of give you an idea of an effortless looking forehand. Last but not least, see if I can get a good one out there. But in the series, I will use tips that I've heard from pros. I will use other YouTube video points that I think are very, very good, and then I will also use my personal experience. I've got 13 years of experience throwing forehand, so I will incorporate a little bit of everything into this series, so that way you guys can come to one place and really get the best of everything, and you're not having to go out there and search all over the internet. You can just come here, and I will give you the best display of how to throw an effortless forehand that I can possibly come up with. And don't be afraid to comment down below and let me know if there's something that you're doing that's helping your forehand. I am all ears. I know a lot about the forehand, but if there's something that I haven't heard of and you're like, man, I just noticed that when I do blank, whatever it is, I am very consistent, or I get a lot more power, or whatever it is, just let me know. Don't be afraid to comment down below. I'll see if I can incorporate it into the videos. I know it was a lot to unpack, but I just wanted to let you know where my head's at on where I kind of want this series to go. Do me a huge favor, if you're new or you're returning, just subscribe, join the channel. I have a lot of videos in the pipeline that are good quality videos, and I would love for you to join the channel. If I can get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, I will be doing a really cool giveaway to one of my subscribers. It's gonna be big, it's not gonna be something small. I have a couple ideas. Anyways, we're gonna switch camera angles. I'm gonna throw a forehand, and then we're gonna talk about what you came here for, which is really the magic of the forehand. And yeah, so we're gonna start throwing from a different angle. At normal speed, I'll play it at normal speed a couple times, and you'll notice you're not gonna be able to see really anything other than it looks pretty efficient. And then I'm gonna show me first, and then we're gonna go into some pros, and we'll talk about some similarities in my throw and their throw, but we'll just start playing right now. So there's a normal throw. We'll say it one more time, that's a normal throw. If you go back and look, play it one more time, normal speed. Can't really tell, but now we're gonna go into some slow-mo here, frame by frame, and look at it. So I guess to start off, I do a little hop, kind of going into my forehand. All I'm doing is shifting the weight onto my back leg, and so that way I can really propel myself with my back leg. We're not going to talk too much into the footwork, but there are some similarities to some of these pros I'll show you. But anyways, the main gist is get the weight on your back leg. And then we're going to start looking right, okay, let's start right here. If you notice, my disc is actually vertical. It's not horizontal, it's basically straight up and down. And I've heard people say you want to bring the disc back flat. You want this disc to be flat, and then when you pull it through, you want to stay flat and then release it flat. That's more so true on a backhand. On a forehand, I haven't seen a pro yet that reaches back straight. So I don't know that that is true, but mine is up vertical. And then really right here is where you're gonna see all the magic happen. The disc really isn't moving, but my elbow really dips right there. And this is the magic. This is where you end up with everything you need to have the torque. Essentially, what we got here is my elbow is driving forward, and then my wrist and my hand and my disc are lagging behind. You hear a lot of times in disc golf the terminology of slingshot or lag. This is 100% to me the power pocket of the forehand. It pushing forward with my elbow, disc is lagging behind, and then it comes to a point where my elbow can no longer go forward, and then the wrist and then the disc follows, and the disc comes out last. That is all of my forehand, and now let's go into a pro and talk about their forehand. Here's Jeremy Coing. Jeremy Coing is known for having a phenomenal forehand. He is very, very, very good at a forehand. So if we look at his, shout out to Anthem Films, by the way. They do a fantastic job with slow-mos. They do a very, very good job. So Jeremy and I do almost the same thing. He kind of shifts the weight off of his front foot, kind of hops. Same time his front foot's coming off the ground, his back foot's going on the ground. So he's just shifting the weight onto his back leg so he can propel himself forward. Same thing. The disc is not flat. The disc, his disc is more of a 45-degree angle. It's not straight up and down, and it's not flat. So his isn't quite as vertical as mine was. But if you watch, his disc is not moving forward at all. His disc is basically just staying there. His elbow starts to drive forward. His elbow is driving forward. The disc has no choice but to follow the elbow. But the disc is still almost just now starts moving forward, but look at the elbow. The elbow is driving forward. And let's pause it right here. But you can definitely tell that the elbow is much more forward than the disc. He's driving that elbow forward. The wrist is not locked. It is actually pretty flexible. It's actually cocked back. That's another lever that we can generate more whip at the end of the disc. So the elbow's driving forward. To me, really what happens is, so let's go in reverse back a little bit. The disc is staying in the same spot, but the elbow is what's moving. So if the elbow is driving forward, disc is staying in the same place, and then the elbow is still moving, still moving, still moving, still moving, all the way still moving, and then right there, it can no longer move. His shoulder is behind, his elbow is actually out in front of his shoulder, and his wrist is behind his elbow, and the disc is behind his elbow. And then right here, the disc at one point wasn't moving and his elbow was. Now they flip-flop. Now the elbow can no longer go forward, and there's no choice but the disc to be brought around right just like that. So the elbow is no longer moving. Now it's just a rotation of the shoulder. The shoulder has to rotate. The elbow has to swing, or not swing, the elbow has to rotate too, but the wrist and the hand swing around the arm. Elbow's not moving. All the elbow did was rotate. It didn't go forward at all. It stayed at the same location, but the disc and the wrist and the hand and the forearm are all going fast, very fast in real time. So there's Jeremy, and then I never did look at my back foot. We can go look at my back foot. If you notice my back leg, once the disc leaves my hand, let's see, right here, the disc has left my hand, all the weight is on my front foot. I've transferred all the weight, I've pushed through, all the weight is on my front foot, and my right leg where all the weight was on is now up off the ground, and it's swinging behind me, kind of almost like a counterbalance, so I just stay balanced. And if you look at Jeremy's, his does the same thing. As the disc, it's all the weight is getting transferred, all the power is shifted from his leg into his core, into his elbow, and now it's coming out, maybe not his core, but it's definitely, the weight is, all that momentum is now shifted into the disc, and he has no choice but to use that leg as a counterbalance, kind of swing it back, and that is exactly the same thing I do. Now we're gonna get into Ricky Wasaki. He does kind of like a modified, or it's not a modified, it's just an X step in the forehand. To me, it doesn't really matter how you get there, as long as you shift all of your weight on your back leg to drive. You're gonna push off. If you notice, he's gonna push off. His hips are parallel with the target. He's driving that leg down and rotating those hips. And once again, elbow, driven forward. Elbow, you cannot have a powerful forehand if your elbow is behind your wrist. It's not gonna happen. I'm not saying to go out there and try to purposely throw your elbow forward and injure yourself, but what I'm telling you is you're not going to be able to throw the disc far or efficient and get momentum or whip or lag or this forehand power pocket. None of that's going to happen if your elbow stays behind your wrist. It just will not happen. But we'll keep further going with Ricky. Same thing. He's shifting the weight off of his back leg. His elbow is in front of his shoulder and in front of his wrist. And once his elbow can no longer go forward, he has to rotate his shoulder, which rotates his elbow, and swings his forearm and his wrist and his hand forward super fast. It's what makes it look so effortless. Really it is. And his back leg is kind of swinging up. It doesn't swing as much. He's kind of tilted back, and then here is someone that I feel like has, I shouldn't say an underrated forehand, but no one really, I talk about Paul Macbeth's forehand is, I would say top 5 forehands. He's got a fantastic forehand. If you look at Paul's disc, he keeps it kind of behind his head. If you go back and look at mine, his is straight up and vertical, just like mine. You know, Paul's is more so here. His arm's more bent, my arm's more reached back. But my disc is straight up and down, just like Paul's. Paul's doing this sweeping motion with his left hand. That's his off arm. He's swinging it forward, but he's also, and Paul doesn't really do a jump with his, he doesn't shift the weight. He kind of does an X step, kind of like Ricky. But his X step, he's just walking really, and he's shifting all of that weight onto his back leg. Front leg's coming forward. That front foot is just hovering over the ground. It's not up and down at all. He's just staying. It's very smooth. Paul's very, very, very smooth. His left hand is swiping. He's kind of swinging it around, getting all of that momentum. He's using his left arm to help pull his left shoulder back. Right there, he's pulling it, driving it. Disc is still not really moving, but the shoulder is really starting, or the elbow is really starting to dip down. Elbow dips really far. Elbow is driven. Elbow is in front of the shoulder and the wrist yet again. And at this point, the elbow can no longer go forward. And Paul's really compact. Keeps that elbow really tight. And then drives off, all of his momentum is off of his back leg. He's kind of got his toe on the ground, but his foot leaves the ground right there. His foot's off the ground. All of the weight is on his front foot, and all of that momentum is through the disc and out. And there it goes. Okay, so this is something a little bit, I guess, unorthodox. You don't really see a skeet thrower or a clay thrower in a disc golf video, but just bear with me. I feel like this is very similar to the mechanics of a forehand. Okay, so if you want to picture the top of this skeet thrower as your elbow, and this back of this being your wrist and your hand, and obviously this disc would be way further. This would be like the middle of your forearm. But if you could get that out here and release it like you would a hand, you could get a lot more momentum on it. But what happens is this actually slides down that and comes off, so it works great. But what happens is this thing slings forward so fast, it pivots on this point, which is your elbow, would be your pivot point, and everything else follows through. And it happens so fast. No one's like, oh my gosh, no one ever says that a skeet thrower looks effortless, but basically that's essentially what's happening. Is your elbow is, and your shoulder would be up here, they're rotating together, and this is your forearm, and the disc is back here, and they're gonna rotate together. You can see that, look at that thing bend. Your tendons in your arm and stuff obviously aren't probably going that fast, but they may be. I did tech disc with my forehand and it was 70 mile an hour. So they may be doing that. But it's gonna slowly move forward. Same thing happens. You know, all that goes forward, and the follow through on the skeet thrower is funny. It goes across, you know, your forehand, when you follow through, you go across your body. So interesting concept I thought about. I was like, you know what, it's very, very similar to that. But we'll go back to the field and finish the video. So after all that, you're probably thinking, well, Zach, how do I get an effortless looking forehand? Well, that's what the series is for. What I do not want to do is try to cram a bunch of information in a video and tell you guys to go out there, throw your elbow forward and hurt yourself. I hurt myself throwing a forehand, and I tried to throw it too hard, and I threw it with a lot of Anheuser. I will show you real quick what my forehand used to look like. So my forehand used to be basically a very choppy throw. Puts a lot of strain on the forehand. Although it was a very consistent throw, it's only really one type of throw. It does help if you're in the woods and you need to flex something from right to left, and you have like an S-shaped pattern you need to get through the woods, you can do that. But really, it was essentially me just throwing the disc straight. It would flex just as much right as it would left, and then end up back basically in the center. And I wasn't able to hyzer flip discs. I wasn't able to throw them flat and get them to hyzer and go left. It was really inconsistent if I tried to change things. And so I had a very forehand, and it hurt. And I realized I needed to change some things in my forehand, which kind of led me on this path on bringing it all to you guys. And so we're looking for that next episode, and also definitely be sure to subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. Until I catch you in the next one, go in peace and be blessed.